if I hear a bullet being released from the cartridge of a gun, I'm pushing the oldest person down in front of me and I'm running away. Hey guys, today I'm going to be diving into the hellish world of The Exorcist. And if you want to come along, watch the video. This video will begin with my usual recap of the movie, and then I'm going to be diving into the actual hellish territory that was the production of the Exorcist movie. Something sinister happened on that set. That's all I can say about that right now. William Friedkin, you did not need to run that joint like a super senior running a f***ing GameStop. You will be tried for your crimes in hell. Anyways, let's get into The Exorcist. Now, as many of you know, this movie opens up in the quaint neighborhood of Iraq. What the f*** was up with Hollywood and their weird obsession with the Middle East? Actually, wait, no, that Middle East obsession still is yet to go away. Anyways, turns out we're in Iraq because this old dude is on an archaeological excavation, and while there, he finds two important objects, a small sculpture and a little coin. And both of them are giving off a little bit of a weird vibe to this young man. We do end up following this man around Iraq, and is it just me or is this man tweaking off the bean? Like, it looks as though he took 7 edibles and he's seeing the cast of Yo Gabba Gabba roaming the streets of Iraq. Yo Gabba Gabba! Yo Gabba Gabba! Eventually, the old guy makes his way back to the site and he sees 2 dogs fighting in a big-ass human-sized statue. And let me just tell you, that statue has a fat boner. Boner. B-O-N-E-R. And that incites a weird mixture of dread and a little bit of titillation in this old man. Anyways, cut to Georgetown, DC, and we get to meet our favorite mommy-daughter duo, Chris and Reagan McNeil. And they would have ate if they were on Dance Moms. And during one night in their Georgetown residence, Chris hears some noises in the attic, but assumes it's rats, so she doesn't do any investigating. Okay, so we just want to die. That's really cool. Chris, what the f*** are you doing? That literally could be a f***ing human being in your attic, and you don't even care. Anyways, cut to a film shoot and we find out that Chris McNeil is actually some big time LA actress, like so big she's acting on the caliber of Nene Leakes.
Dude, you can't have no baby. You are old as a hill. You ain't gonna give birth to no child. You gonna give birth to a grandchild.
And now we really don't know much about this movie other than the fact that it's a Disney version of the Ho Chi Minh story, which all I can imagine from that is that it's basically putting Good Luck Charlie in the Vietnam War. And something about that is actually quite compelling. Like, low-key, yeah, I want to see Charlie on the Vietnam War. We also find out that the mom was invited to the White House, which at the time was probably a really big accomplishment, but nowadays we're saying TikTokers and streamers get invited to take shits in the Oval Office. We then cut to our second protagonist, and that is Damien Carras, and this man is a priest psychiatrist, which to me, that low-key sounds like an oxymoron, but whatever. What's more important is that this man has major mommy issues, and those issues are, she's dying. I mean, that might be a problem that we can't fix, guys. I don't know about that one. Moving back to the McNeil house, and Chris finds a Ouija board inside of the kids' playroom in the basement. And we find out that Reagan has been playing with that Ouija board alone. Are you fucking serious, girl? You are old and actually, you're not old enough to read. So you probably just played this game without knowing that you're supposed to have a partner. But trust and believe, I wouldn't even be touching that Ouija board. It looks freaky as shit. Like, I'm not even religious, and I would never touch a Ouija board because I am paranoid. God forbid the fucking soul of Abraham Lincoln finds its way into my bedroom with a Ouija board? No. Him and that fuck-ass top hat. But instead of being mad at her daughter, the mom really shows her LA spirituality and decides to play the game of Ouija with her daughter. But just as they start trying to play Ouija, the mom reaches for the piece and the piece jukes out of her hand, like Casper the fucking Ghost vibes. Clearly, the ghost in this room does not want to play with you, and then immediately after that, she blames Reagan for touching the piece. Reagan's hands were fucking miles away from the piece. There is no way that she did that. She is not fucking Matilda. There is a ghost, and you need an exorcist immediately. But we do find out that the ghost that Reagan has been messing with on her little Ouija board is actually going by the name of Captain Howdy. And yes, Captain Howdy does sound like the brand of a very nice, tasty cereal, but trust and believe that man is not to be messed with. That might just be the devil. And now a couple hours after this run-in with Captain Crunch, we do hear some screaming from Reagan's bedroom. So Chris runs up there and notices that her bed is actually shaking so crazily, like shaking so much, like shaking almost as much as my bed would be shaking if I had Jonathan Bailey in my bedroom. Like, the vibes are getting sinister, insidious, and honestly, we do need a priest in this bedroom, okay? And luckily this mom isn't a complete piece of shit, because she decides to throw a sleepover with her daughter after her daughter has the extremely traumatizing experience, and along with that, she goes to investigate the attic in the middle of the night. Also, pause. Can we appreciate how lethal that Bob is? That thing is more lethal than Lord Farquaad's fucking Bob. And that wasn't even just a Bob, that was a bomb, okay? And while in the attic, the mom doesn't find anything but a little bit of a jump scare from her housekeeper, and along with that, her little house on a prairie candle decides to blow up in flames, and I'm not gonna lie, that made my colon burst. This is then interrupted by an old priest doing his little catwalk around his little church, which is then paused when he sees a vandalized female statue with Areola Grimpley missile boobs and a long dong in the middle of the church, much like the statue that was located in Iraq. Let's think about that. Maybe those things followed the old man to DC. But truth be told, I don't know how they followed them to DC, because where is the old guy? Where is the old guy? But anyways, it's low-key kind of obvious that some evil spirits are terrorizing the local Catholic community of Georgetown. After the daughter at a doctor's appointment, and she's low-key shifting personalities as the appointment progresses. And she keeps on having these weird SpongeBob Nosferatu visions. What?
Happy Friday the 13th from Tarantula and your Uncle Spooky.
And I'm not gonna lie, this literally looks like normal kid behavior. Like, that is a young girl who's got undiagnosed ADHD, and y'all wanna say she's possessed by the devil?
Was she really schizophrenic? Was she just a bit out there? Was she just fabulous? Liz diagnosed as schizophrenic. This book's rubbish. This seems like normal behaviour to be for a teenager.
No, let's not do that. Let's allow her to exercise her comedic skills, because I'm not gonna lie, this she's saying is really f***ing funny. But the doctors believe that this personality shift was caused by depression because her father refuses to call her because he's an absolute f***ing loser. He didn't even call her on her goddamn birthday. Like, let's be real about that, okay? That is a father who would cause depression. If I had a father like that, trust and believe I would not be sitting here on this couch making this f***ing YouTube video. Instead, I would be the one having an exorcism put on themselves. Moving back to the priest, and we got to see him walking into this weird psych ward hospice care kind of place, and we find out that his mom was actually put there because she's dying and he doesn't have any money to pay the bills. Oh my god, I love the American healthcare system. Shifting back to the McNeil household, and we find out that Chris McNeil is actually throwing a huge party for her film crew. Alright. And while at this party, Chris shows her curiosity for Damien the priest. Brooke Dennings, the film director, gets extremely drunk. And to top it all off, the theater kids of the film crew decide to do a little bit of a show, which is then interrupted by Reagan walking downstairs, looking at them dead in the eye and saying,
"You're gonna die up there."
And then she lets Splash Mountain loose and pees all over the carpet floor. Also, it doesn't help that Katya, the drag queen, has continuously said you're gonna die up there, so much so that I thought that that was just her thing. And then when I find out it's from The Exorcist, I couldn't stop laughing because of that. Like, truly, Katya, what were you doing throwing that line around? After the theater kids got hit in the splashdown, the party ends, and Chris puts Reagan to bed, but not long after, Reagan is screaming because her bed is once again shaking. To solve this, Chris decides to call the doctors, and she's like, hey, can you come over and do a midnight house visit? So they come over and decide to gaslight her into thinking that her daughter can levitate a fucking bed, all because she's mentally unwell. Last time I checked, telekinesis was not a symptom of depression. In fact, it was a symptom of possession. So the doctors decide to inject Reagan with liquid melatonin to put her to sleep, which might just be the first smart decision they've had this entire f***ing movie. And while Reagan is sleeping, the mom decides to go with the doctors to see some brain scans of Reagan, so she decides to leave her assistant with Reagan. But eventually Chris comes home and it's pitch black with no assistant in sight. Right. Right. And as she's looking through the house, we see some cartoonish frame of a ghost, but whatever, that doesn't matter that much. Eventually, we get up to Reagan's bedroom, where we find out that the window in Reagan's bedroom is completely open, which is like, all right, what the fuck is happening there? But then she walks downstairs, she meets up with her assistant, and her assistant's like, hey, I know you're mad at me because I left and all that, but I did leave someone very trustworthy here. It was Burke Dennings, aka the film director who got violently drunk at the party that had to get escorted off the premises because he was calling some random white people Nazis, which they probably were Nazis, but regardless, that man was violently drunk and unfit to take care of your baby. But I did it anyways. And by the way, where is Burke Dennings right now? And then some random white dude comes bursting into the home and is like, a body has been discovered. And turns out Burke Dennings was thrown out of Reagan's bedroom window with a neck that was looking all the way at his backside. But on top of that, why aren't the police locking down the premises of the McNeil household? Because quite literally there is a dead body right next to the home that was supposedly thrown out of her fucking bedroom window. There should be at least police officers questioning Mrs. McNeil, or at the very least, outside of the house, scanning the premises. But we don't see any blue or red fucking sirens. We see nothing. And to add on to this insanity, Reagan decides to crab crawl down the stairs and vomit blood all over the camera. Oh, You just want to have attention. Oh, Reagan, you're about to piss me off. But this finally convinces the mom that maybe pushing pills on a little tween isn't actually the way to solve this, and maybe we need an exorcism.
Get out, get out, get out. In the name of Jesus Christ, get out. In the name of Jesus Christ, get out.
So the mom finally decides to ask Damien if he wants to do the exorcism, which he begrudgingly accepts. And then we cut to Reagan Nickelodeon slamming Damien. Mind you, this is their first time interacting. But as the interaction goes on, Reagan speaks Latin, she gets burned by holy water, and the words, "help me," form on her chest like ringworm. So now we clearly have enough evidence that she requires an exorcism, so he decides to request to do an exorcism from the Catholic Church, which they accept, and then on top of that, he's like, hey, I want to do the ritual. So they decide, sure, f it, like no one else wants to do this f***ing exorcism, go ahead. However, the Catholic Church does want Damien to do it with a priest who's a little bit more experienced in the matter, and the priest that they propose is the old man tweaking off the bean in Iraq. Cut to the priest pulling up to the McNeil household with his Babadook ass hat, but more importantly, I do think we need to hold an intervention about the fact that his head is so f***ing massive. Like, no shade, but like, look at this screenshot of his head next to Chris McNeil's head. His head is literally triple the size of her head. Like, his entire head is probably the same size as the pickle in VeggieTales.
You're the only one that my dick could get hard for. I'm confused. What the fuck you on my arm for?
Anyways, the priests eventually pull up to Reagan's bedroom and the chaos begins. And once in the room, Reagan immediately enters her star era and starts throwing off these comedic f***ing bars. Like absolute bar after bar after bar. Like this young girl literally needs to get on the stage and perform a comedy set.
Talk.
I could never be more happy than I'm with Reagan when she's possessed. Some of these comedic skills include her dropping the bar, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell."
Your mother sucks cocks in hell, Karen.
Her wiggling her tongue like a snake charmer. Her pulling a 360 by Charlie XCX by turning her head all the way around. Finally, her floating in the air like the world famous star, Pink.
She was a fairy. Yup. She was a fairy with a fatty on my daddy.
But eventually the power of Christ does end up compelling her down to the bed. Damn. And once she's back down on the bed, she starts talking to Damien using his dead mom's voice. So like a normal person, Damien decides to leave the room, but once he comes back, he finds out that the old priest actually got murdered by Reagan. So just like any normal person, he decides to beat the f*** out of Reagan. Oh wait, like any normal person, he's beating the f*** out of a child. What? But Damien eventually realizes that what he's doing is completely wrong, so he's like, hey, demon, just take me instead. Just take me instead. Which the demon eventually does, possessing him, and then he jumps out of the window and kills himself. I did not see that coming. Like, this movie is fully 30 years older than me, and I fully thought that I knew everything about this movie, and that gagged me. Like, I did not know he died. I fully thought that he was gonna make it. I thought he was gonna be my final girl. Turns out the final girl was actually the villain of the movie. That damn fucking baby.
Who's that big-headed baby?
UNICEF.
Oh.
Cut to a couple days later, and the family's getting ready to move out of DC forever when the assistant comes over to the mom and is like, hey, found this little coin inside of Reagan's bedroom, and it's the same coin that was in Iraq. And the mom also tries to get the coin back to the priest, which the priest is like, I don't want that. Like, you can keep it. But I don't think she knows that the devil came from that coin. So she's just gonna take it and think it's like some weird little souvenir. But like, trust and believe, that thing will follow you. Also, just genuine question. How are they able to move out of DC so quickly after 3 deaths occurred inside of their home underneath their watch? There were 2 priests that died and a world famous film director. Like, y'all look like international criminals escaping into France. Like, genuinely, how is this able to happen? And where's the logic in this? But anyways, the McNeils decide to leave, and the policeman and the priest decide to go on a little bit of a movie date. And the movie ends. Yeah, that's it. And now that we finished talking about this movie, let's talk about the absolute fucking train wreck that the production of this movie was. Because genuinely, if I was a minimum wage PA on that set, ooh, I would have burned it down myself. I would have burned this fucking set to the ground. No survivors. And the movie began production on August 14th in 1972 with the director being William Friedkin, and that man was a freaking bitch. Like, it's a freaking deal that this man's a freaking bitch. Like, he sucked. He flat out sucked. Like, that's all I can say about this man. He just sucked dick. And now William Friedkin's behavior on set was widely publicized as egotistical and tyrannical, which is true. Like, this man was actually insane, like clinically insane. Like, the biggest thing I can think of is the fact that he would hide guns around set and periodically shoot them just to catch the actors off guard. What the f are you doing, sir? If I heard a gunshot on the set that I was on, I'd clock out early. I'd walk off the f***ing set. What do you mean? I'm not staying back. If I hear a bullet being released from the cartridge of a gun, I'm pushing the oldest person down in front of me and I'm running away. And along with that, production had to start 6 weeks late because Freakin wasn't proud of the set that was built, so he demanded the production designer to rebuild it, and then he fired the production designer. You joking? Are you joking, sister? Because now you just look like a dick. And by the way, the set isn't that fucking impressive. If I'm looking at that set, it's never ending up on my Pinterest board. Because if I'm looking for freaky exorcism ghost vibes, I'm just looking up the preacher's daughter. I'm looking up Ethel Cain. Along with that, he slapped the priest who survived in the end in the face right before he had to do a scene because he wanted it to be more realistic. Sir, what the f are you talking about? You just assaulted this man. You literally gave a world star worthy fight performance and then you shoved him into the scene and said, Jester, why don't you just dance? Because if that happened to me, I would be releasing a 5-part documentary on William Freakin. Did you slap me? Okay, I'm gonna slap a fucking lawsuit on you, motherfucker. Moving on from the egotistical disaster that is William Freakin, here are the other notable disasters that happened on the set of The Exorcist. And they are f***ed up. Like legitimately, actually bad. And some people also think that the production was low-key cursed, but if I'm being real, I don't think that's the case. My favorite being that there was a layer of snow that formed inside of the set, the interior set for the McNeil household on the Warner Bros. Lot. Like everything was closed off, they come back, and there's snow all over the set inside. But to be fair, that wasn't really that crazy of a thing because they were keeping the set below fucking freezing, like legitimately I think negative 20 degrees or something like that, because they wanted to see the actor's breath, which is like, at what cost? Because you have Linda Blair over here fully in just a muumuu, and she's supposed to be okay with that because everyone else on the set, if you look at the behind the scenes pictures, they're wearing fucking snowsuits and she's got one thin layer and maybe a blanket on. Legitimately, how did that girl not die from hypothermia? What are you talking about? You're keeping the set below freezing and you have this tweenager wearing a muumuu? A muumuu. A muumuu doesn't do for you. She looks like Mumu the Fool. You fooled her. Now, a complete 180 from the snow story. The set actually burned down. Yeah, legitimately the entire set, except from one bedroom, burned the f down.
You may have won this battle, but we will never lose. We are 21 pilots, and so are you.
And that one bedroom that survived was Reagan's bedroom. And now some people say that's because of a demonic entity being located within Reagan's bedroom. But like, let's be real, guys. We were keeping that room below freezing for most of the shoot, so why would that shit burn down? Why would the meat locker of Reagan's bedroom burn down? And along with that, we don't really know why the fire started, but the prevailing theory is that a bird flew into the circuit box of the Warner Bros. Lot, which, not to victim blame, but how the fuck did that bird hit a circuit box? Because circuit boxes are quite fucking large, and out of all the circuit boxes to hit, you hit the Exorcist lot, and you burn down the Exorcist set. Something about that seems quite fishy. Maybe it's not a ghost, but maybe that bird wasn't a real bird. Maybe that bird was being controlled by the US government. Moving on from the fire and brimstone of it all, Ellen Bernstein, the woman who actually played Chris McNeil in the movie, got badly injured when she was filming the crucifix scene because in that scene she was strapped into a harness, and when she had to fall, they pulled her to the floor, WWE slamming her into the hardwood floor. Oh, we're just trying to kill our stars. What I'm seeing right now is you are literally voodoo doll playing with this motherfucker. And this did end up leading to her having permanent back damage. Like legitimately she had issues for the rest of her life. And I'm just supposed to sit here and say, well, it was worth it for the act of filmmaking. Girl, no, it wasn't. The shot was okay. But like, for her to have her actual screams in the scene, that didn't need to happen. Because when I heard about that right before watching the movie, that completely changed the context of that scene. I didn't see a woman who was playing a character. I saw her fully just in pain. It felt like a snuff film. And not a good one.
Why'd you just say that?
Along with that, the same thing almost happened to Linda Blair. Yeah, the actual tween on set. When she was filming her Harlem Shake scenes on the bed, her harness came undone and she was slamming back and forth on the bed. Like, actually, what are you talking about? Are you trying to kill your stars? Like, by the end of this movie, they're going to be doing their press junkets from a wheelchair. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say that being disabled is bad, but like, doing this to your stars and actively putting them in harm's way is a bad thing. They could have been shot, they could have been paralyzed, they could have been burned, they could have been frozen. That is a lot. This isn't the Hunger Games. This is real life. This is I survived William Freakin. And along with the talent getting hurt, a carpenter lost his thumb. Yeah, Thumbelina lost his thumb. And along with that, a lighting technician lost his toes. Oh, if I lost my toes, I'd just get rid of the whole foot. I get a peg leg. You know what? Like a peg leg would be nice, but like legitimately, what are you doing? How do you lose a toe? But also, like, was this set just an excuse for William Friedkin to recreate his own Texas Chainsaw Massacre on a production? Because what is happening right now? How is everyone losing a limb or breaking their back or just not having a good time? Or how are we burning down sets? But because of all this disaster, a priest was eventually brought to set and he blessed the set, which kind of quelled all the bad shit because nothing really bad happened afterwards. So maybe there was a curse. And maybe it's bad that I'm speaking about the movie, and maybe the devil's going to be looking at me. And maybe the devil's going to look at you. And moving into the post-production for this movie, the demonic voice used for Reagan was actually created by a young woman named Mercedes McCambridge. And Mercedes prepped for this role by chain-smoking cigarettes, downing a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and also swallowing raw eggs. Like, this woman was genuinely in the trenches. She went method for this role. And along with that, she also went a little bit 50 Shades of Grey with this movie because she requested that she be taped down to a chair while she does her lines. Oh. Okay, Mercedes. I didn't know you had it in you. I did not know, because from the look of you, you look like a woman who belongs in the Golden Girls, but you might just belong on Euphoria. But once again, freaking sinister nature strikes when he tried not to credit her for her work, but because she low-key went method for this, she decided to sue the studio and got her name in the credits. Also, the reason why he tried to do this was because he wanted the voice to sound authentic, which is like, girl, f your authenticity. People aren't going to be looking through the credits to see if Reagan actually voiced the voice of the demon. I don't care. No one cares, because if the movie's good, the movie's good. At least credit her for her work. She worked hard for that money. Now let's move on to the release of this movie. And in some early screenings of this movie, people were fainting, vomiting, leaving the theater. People were freaked the f out. Like, it actually scared people. They were not laughing like I was. They were petrified. They were clutching their pearls. So much so that evangelist Billy Graham accused the movie of having the devil inside of it. So basically is saying that the movie was great and they're doing something right, because if you get accused of having the devil inside of you, quite frankly, you're serving. And now once the movie got its big release on the silver screen, one woman ended up fainting watching the movie. In fact, she fainted and then broke her jaw from the fall. And like any normal person, she decided to sue Warner Bros. And guess what? They took the case to private. AKA, they gave her a fat check. Which I applaud. But if she is an evangelicist, that's not a good for her, because, girl, then you're just taking money because you think the movie has the devil. But if you're not evangelicist, take that money. Take that f***ing money. Moving on, the actress Linda Blair, the actress for Reagan, ended up experiencing her own hell after the movie was released, because some people believe that she was actually possessed by the devil, so they were sending her death threats. Yeah, real ass adult human beings were sending a 12-year-old girl death threats over her performance in a movie that she probably had no f***ing clue what was happening in, because she didn't get to see that movie until she was 18. So what is going on there? Legitimately, what is going on there? Are you actually that deaf, dumb, and stupid that you believe that this girl is possessed by the devil? And these conservatives were so convinced that she was possessed by the devil that Warner Bros. Had to hire bodyguards for her for 6 fucking months after the release of the movie, and then put her on a worldwide press junket to convince the world that she wasn't actually possessed by the devil. And I thought people were stupid. Now, with QAnon and flat earthers, oh my god. To be alive in the 70s, to be alive with all that crazy misinformation and Bible thumping methodology bumping around everyone's fucking loose noggins, I would have felt so smart. My brain would have felt fucking massive. Because if you believe that that girl on that TV is possessed by the devil, oh, you'd believe anything. I would show you a brain rot YouTube video and you fully would have been like, the rapture happened.
Smash cans on the road are remnants of a covert alien experiment. The extraterrestrials are testing human resilience by subtly interfering with daily life. Each crush can represents a tiny glitch in their simulated reality, and those who notice them are said to be awakening to the truth.
You would have believed that the devil had taken over humanity. And maybe he has, and maybe I'm crazy, or maybe y'all are just flat out melted. Now, I've been pushing off talking about the last bit of this production history like an American congressman refusing to talk about his gay lover, because this movie is linked to 9 deaths. Yeah, it's really fucked up. It like actually is. Like, I'm legitimately not going to put a joke in this part. I think that was the last joke I'll have, because I cannot believe how like much shit happened around this movie. Like, how do we allow for productions like this to exist? Anyways, here are the people that died. During the production, a set technician and a night watchman died. Along with that, 2 main cast members lost their family members while filming: Max von Sydow, the old priest, and Linda Blair, Reagan. Shortly after production, 2 cast members also died, these being Jack McGowan, the movie director, and Vasiliki Malaros, the priest's mom, which coincidentally also the characters died in. However, coincidentally, both of them were quite old while filming the movie, so I won't say the devil killed them because that kind of just, 1, sounds insensitive, and 2, does not sound probable, so they probably just died of old age, which is better than normal, but like, still they died like really eerily close to production. But you know, it was all worth it because Linda Blair ended up getting on Rumpelstiltskin's Drag Race, so maybe it was all worth it, guys. William Friedkin, when I find you, I'm gonna follow you home, and I'm gonna touch you, and you're not gonna make it out. Just know. And that is all the free promo I'm going to give the Exorcist movie. So if you want to go and watch it, go watch it. If you don't want to go and watch it, don't go and watch it. It's been out for 50 years. You probably already know how it ends, and you probably know now. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to continue trying to make more videos where I do a recap and then I talk about the pop culture / production history of these movies, because it is a little bit more work, but I do find it a lot more fun. Like, there's a whole lot more to talk about when I'm talking about this weird history of these movies. So if you have any recommendations, please drop them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do your thing, make the video go viral, please. I need the money. Anyways, see you in 2 weeks. See you later. Have a good day. Bye.